Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Crime Rewind. My name is Jen Marie, and this is part one of a four-part series that I'm doing on the unsolved murder of Tara Louise Baker. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it because there's so much information on this case that there is a lot to share. So we're going to start immediately. The early morning of January 19th, 2001, which was almost exactly 20 years ago, Tara Baker was beaten, stabbed, and strangled at her home at 160 Fawn Drive in the Deer Park neighborhood of Athens, Georgia. This took place in Athens, which is where UGA is located, UGA Bulldogs. The killer then, after doing all that to Tara, the killer then turned on all four stove burners. It was an electric stove, I believe. Lit a blanket on fire from these burners and tossed it into Tara's bedroom, where she was laying dead on the floor in an effort to conceal evidence. Then authorities were called around 11:20 a.m. and they were alerted to the fire at Tara's residence. Firefighters arrived shortly after the call to extinguish the fire, which was centered and contained pretty much in Tara's bedroom. There were two other bedrooms in this house belonging to female roommates who were not home at the time. There were two female roommates. Neither one were home. They were both on an extended, like a long weekend break, because it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day that weekend. So it was a long weekend for everybody. So the two roommates had gone home. So they weren't there. Their bedrooms were untouched. Only Tara's bedroom was set on fire. The fire in Tara's room had actually gotten so hot that it had blown out her bedroom window. Now, I want to tell you guys about where I got most of my information. And I have to say that this guy, his name is Cameron J., and he has a podcast that is centered in Athens, Georgia, and it's called Classic City Crime. And that is what people... the term people use to refer to Athens is the Classic City. And he has a podcast named Classic City Crime, and he dedicates an entire season to the murder of Tara Baker. And I think there's like 24 episodes that he dedicates to just her case. And that is mostly where I got my information. And he has done more in probably 6 months for this case than the Athens Clark Police Department have done in 20 years. And I would not be surprised if he actually single-handedly was able to solve this case. I mean, it's really amazing. You need to go listen to his podcast. So I just want to give a shout out to Cameron J. I'm going to be referencing him a lot in these videos. And as a bonus and a surprise, I actually have an interview with Cameron J. on video that I've already done, and it's probably going to be the part 4 of this series. So y'all have that to look forward to, and you guys are gonna like him. He's pretty awesome. So he's very nice, very sweet, very easy to talk to, very southern, just a cool guy. So you have that to look forward to. And also, I want to say that most of the names of the people that I'm going to talk about have purposefully been omitted because I wanted to protect the privacy of those people involved. I do say some people's real names, but most of the people I just don't say their names. Either that or I don't know their names, and I haven't been able to find out their names. But remember, I want everyone to remember that as I talk about, because there's a lot of suspects for Tara's murder, and as I talk about all these suspects, I want everyone to keep in mind that everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Just to remind everybody of that, okay? So the ideas presented that I present in these videos are mine alone. They do not reflect those connected to this case. They don't I'm sure don't reflect those of the police department. So I will present the facts, but I'm also, I can't help it inject my opinion into this video, because that's just I've tried to stop myself, but I can't help doing that. So, you know, I'm going to give my opinion. But those are my opinions. But as always, I will present the facts that are known and proven and let you decide what you believe may have happened. But after 20 years, her murder is still an open investigation and has never even been classified as a cold case by the Athens Clarke Police Department. First, I'm going to talk about Tara as a person, though. Her remarkable life that she led, her 23 years, because she didn't make it to her 24th birthday. She was killed the day before her 24th birthday, so she was 23 when she was killed. The next day was her 24th birthday. The family that loves her and the events that had led up to that day in January when her life was taken. So Tara Louise Baker was born on January 20th, 1977, to Mother Virginia in the city of East Point, Georgia, which is where I live. She was the oldest of 4 children, and she shared the same father with 2 of her siblings, Meredith and Adam. Not much is known, actually, about Tara's biological father, only that he wasn't involved in his children's lives. Later on, Virginia then got married to a man named Lindsay Baker, and they had a son named Kevin. So that would be the 4th child, and that's Tara's half-brother. Basically, I mean, that's her brother, but for technical purposes, her half-brother. Tara graduated from Lovejoy High School in 1995 and then attended Georgia College in Milledgeville, where she graduated in 1998. In only 3 years, she graduated early, in 1998, with dual bachelor's degrees in political science and paralegal studies. So, very hardworking, very smart, obviously, and just you know, knew what she wanted and she went after it. She then moved to Athens in 1999, so a year after she graduated, in order to attend law school at the University of Georgia. Tara was a second semester law student at UGA when she was killed in the winter of 2001. She had wanted to be a lawyer or a judge from a very young age, according to her mother, Virginia. She held, and Virginia tells stories about when Tara was little, that she would hold court with her stuffed animals, draw up contracts for any family and friend agreements, and also she wrote letters to politicians and lawmakers, including the President of the United States, because a presidential address had interrupted her favorite show, which back then it was the Cosby Show was her favorite show, and the president came on and interrupted the Cosby Show, and she was upset about that. So she wrote the president to tell him what she thought. So she's been just, you know, very studious and conscientious since, you know, a very young age. So her family describes Tara as being extremely responsible and also very accomplished for someone so young. Other adjectives used by friends and family are loving, meticulous, funny, and strong. Everyone that had ever met her said she had the most amazing smile, which from the pictures you'll see that she really did. And she had an amazing laugh, and everyone couldn't help noticing how actually beautiful she was. She's very strikingly pretty. And Meredith, her sister, jokingly says that, however, Tara wasn't the most graceful or athletic, and she probably was the world's worst driver. She had issues when it came to driving. But Tara had many, many, many friends, because everyone she ever came across was always met with a smile from her and a kind word, because that's just how she was with people. You know, she was never raised her voice at anybody, never was cross with anybody. She was always fair, kind, and just non-judgmental of everyone she ever met. There were a handful of people who were the closest to Tara, and I will mention these people by name, actually, quite often as I talk about this case. Tara shared the house on Fawn Drive with 2 other female roommates, like I said. Their names, and these are their real names, their names are Ashley and Valerie, and they were also students at UGA. Hey everybody. Welcome back. I'm not going to actually be on camera for this one, just because I don't want to set up my tripod. Here, these are houses. And neighborhood. This is a Deer Park neighborhood, and right here I don't know if you could see it, is 160 Fawn Drive. This is where Tara lived, and also where she was murdered. It is now the office for this neighborhood, where you would go, say, to, I don't know, buy or rent a home in this neighborhood. It is now the offices, her old house. And according to what the police think, there was no forced entry, so through a window or a door. So that's why they think that Tara maybe knew her killer. But I don't want to film too much over here just because private homes and things, and people are giving me the hairy eyeball right now. So, but that is her house where she lived and also died. 160 Fawn Drive in Athens. All right. All three of the girls got along great, and Tara was especially close to Ashley because they had actually went to Georgia College together. So they knew each other, and they were in the same sorority there. So they had history, and they ended up both going to law school and decided to be roommates there as well. So besides her two roommates, Tara also had two girlfriends that she met actually the very first day of law school, and they became instant best friends, all three of them. And both of these girls talk about how quickly they became friends, all three of them. They were in the same classes because they were all in law school. They were in the same classes. They studied at the law library every night together. And they also blew off steam together by going out in downtown Athens, which there's a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, stuff like that in downtown Athens, which is literally not even a block away from the UGA campus. And their names are Katie and Ginya. And I'm going to refer to them a lot as well throughout this case. And both of them are still very involved, very vocal in the continued search for Tara's killer. So Katie, who is actually now a practicing lawyer in Washington, D.C., helped start a scholarship fund in Tara's name. This scholarship is given to a UGA second-year law student every summer. Katie actually presents it herself to the student on behalf of Tara's family. The fund was created in 2005, and it actually continues today. So that's a scholarship for any second-year law students that you could definitely apply for, and it's done in honor of Tara. After Tara graduated from Georgia College and moved to Athens in order to attend law school, she got a part-time job in between graduation and then when she started law school. She got a part-time job at a very prestigious law firm in downtown Athens named Fortson, Bentley and Griffin. Tara had a good friend there who also worked there as a clerk, and her name is Lauren, and she's mentioned a lot as well. So those are a handful of Tara's closest friends that I'm going to be referring to quite often by name. Now I'm going to talk about the day of the fire and how Virginia and Lindsay, her stepfather, found out about it. So the day of the fire, and also, when Tara's body was discovered, is the day that Virginia and Meredith, who is their sister, remember, they'll never forget it because it's just ingrained in their memory for the rest of time. Because it's just so heartbreaking about how it happens, how they're told about it. Virginia had picked Meredith up from high school because Meredith, I think she was in 10th grade, maybe 11th grade, I'm not sure. She was a sophomore, junior in high school, and after she picked Meredith up from school on the way home, Meredith asked her mom if they could stop and actually get Tara a birthday card because remember, the next day was her 24th birthday. So they stopped and got Tara a birthday card. When they got home, Virginia says that she was in the living room and she had work spread out, work projects. She was working on things for work, like projects, and she had everything spread out in the living room around her. She was working on that. Meredith was sitting at the kitchen table actually eating a bowl of cereal. And that's when the phone rang, and Virginia answered, and on the other end of the line was apparently a detective from the Athens Clark Police Department. Now, the first thing this lady leads with is she asked Virginia when was the last time that she had spoken with her daughter. And then she asked something that startled Virginia quite a bit. And the detective asked if Tara had ever been arrested. Now, Virginia assumed that because this question was so out of left field and that she just didn't know why this person would be asking this, she assumed that it was probably a prank. So she hung up on this person. Okay, she then decided, oh, well, maybe she needs to check it out further. She decided to call the Athens Clark Police Department herself and ask specifically for the detective she had just spoken to. And she half expected it for them to say there's no one here by that name or whatever. You know, she just basically wanted to see how truthful it was. The detective then came on the phone, and Virginia's heart obviously sank, because that meant that it actually was a detective with the police department. So the police officer said she had asked that question if Tara had ever been arrested, because if so, then that means her fingerprints would be on file, which is ominous, obviously. Virginia then is like, okay, so what the hell's going on? She was tired of these roundabout questions and whatever. She's like, what's going on? And that's when she was informed of the fire that had taken place at Tara's house. So Virginia's immediate thought was about the antiques that Tara possessed, because Tara liked to collect antique furniture, and she actually had some really cool pieces in that house in Athens. So Virginia's first thought was for Tara's antiques, and how upset Tara would be if the antiques were destroyed, and that she was thinking that the worst case scenario was that she would have to go down to Athens to comfort her daughter, because if the fire destroyed her antiques, she would be upset. So she was thinking she'll have to go down to Athens to comfort Tara. Unfortunately, it was way worse than that. So the thought never crossed her mind that something could actually be wrong with Tara, or that something had happened to Tara. So Virginia then asked the detective to speak with her daughter. She's like, can I talk to Tara? And the detective said they had not actually been able to contact her. They had not been in contact with her. They didn't know where she was. They also could not find, apparently, one of the other two roommates. I'm not sure which one they couldn't get a hold of, but they had found one, but the other one they were still trying to get a hold of. The detective told Virginia, basically, you need to get down here. You need to come to Athens. And Virginia's like, yeah, I plan on it. I was already planning on coming down to Athens. The detective's like, no, you need to come down here right now, because we actually have a body. So, at this point, Virginia knows that someone in that house that lives there is dead. So, like I said, the police were still trying to locate one of the roommates, but that's when they told Virginia that Tara's car was in fact still in the driveway. And then Virginia asked the detective to describe the bedroom that the fire had been contained in, and the detectives told her that it was full of antiques. So I think that's kind of when Virginia got the idea that it was actually Tara, but not from them telling her. They didn't tell her that at all. So I think, but she probably reached that conclusion in her mind long before they arrived down in Athens. So, and then Virginia, obviously, she got emotional, and she said she just got kind of angry, and she said tearfully that she certainly knew, was well aware when Tara came into the world. She was certainly aware of it, so she can't believe that she wouldn't know if her daughter exited the world. So she just didn't want to believe, obviously, that something like that could be true. I mean, you never want to lose a loved one, especially a child. So she just she couldn't believe it was true. She just didn't. She couldn't allow herself to believe that. So the whole family, Lindsay, Virginia, Meredith, and I think an uncle, drove down to Athens, and they went to the Athens police department, and they were made to wait a very long time. A long time. No one's talking to them. No one's telling them anything that's going on, and they're just ignoring them, basically. Finally, after such a long wait, they put them in a room, and they were just unceremoniously told that Tara was dead, and they were treating it as a homicide. So, no gentle, like, lead up to ease them into that. It's just, they just blurted it out, and that was that. And Lindsay actually commented, her stepfather commented, his first words were, how am I going to tell my son? And when he says that, he's referring to Kevin, the youngest son, because I think he was like 10 when Tara was killed. So, and he was very close with Tara. So those were Lindsay's first words, which breaks my heart that his first words were, how am I going to tell my son? So, I think that night the Bakers, they got a hotel room in Athens, but they returned to Lovejoy a few days later because the Athens Clark Police Department refused to communicate with the family, or they wouldn't share any information having to do with their daughter's murder. They wouldn't tell them jack. They wouldn't tell them anything. They basically were like, we don't need you. You can go. There's no need for you to be here. And they wouldn't refuse to tell them anything about anything that had happened. They went home knowing nothing except that their daughter was dead. That's all they knew. They didn't know anything else. The mishandling of this investigation has been apparent from the very beginning. The first indication of the department's ineptitude was that phone call to Virginia the day of the fire. The police already concluded that the body found in the house on 160 Fawn Drive was that of Tara Baker. Shortly after the fire was reported around 11 a.m. that Friday. Yet her parents weren't contacted until 6 p.m. that evening. So the fire department and the police department detectives were at that house investigating around 11:30 noon that day. They didn't bother calling her mom until that night. So that's some bullshit. Seriously, like, that should be the first person that they contact, you would think. While they were in the police department, in the room, after the detective had blurted out that Tara was dead, the detective then said some bullshit like, I've been out the wet, cold, winter day all day, and I need to warm up. So I'm tired and I'm cold and I need to go get a cup of coffee. And then as he was exiting the room, he made a comment that shocked the whole family about the fact that there was a gift. Tara had left them a gift of DNA under her fingernails, and she was a fighter. She really fought back. And then left the room, and they're just sitting there looking at each other like, what? They were shocked that something like that would come from a professional, from a police officer. So after this shocking bit of news, the detective left the room, and they're just left there. They're just left there to wonder about what was going on, because they still didn't have all the information. So they weren't exactly sure what had happened. No one had told them, what exactly was going on. And so they had to piece it together themselves in their minds, Later on, the department denied that they ever made these statements, that the detective said this, and or made any statement like that. The department categorically denied making these statements, even though every single family member that was in that room heard the same thing, heard the detective say that. They all corroborate the fact that this detective said that. So I mean, the department's lying, obviously, and that continues. They like to lie. They lie a lot. Virginia says that after the first initial phone call from the Athens PD, they never, not even once, contacted the family again, ever, ever. Every single interaction with the police department, with the Baker family, was every single time initiated by the Baker family. They called constantly. They literally bothered them all the time. They went down there. They were down there every weekend, trying to investigate themselves, because nothing was happening with the police. They weren't getting any info from the police department, so they went down there almost every weekend, did their own investigation, and tried to talk to the police, but the police just gave them the cold shoulder. They wouldn't involve them in any way. So, you know, she also says that they continue, even to this day, continue to contradict themselves constantly, and she's caught them in lie after lie after lie after lie. I mean, they've even gone so far as to conversations that they've had with the police department. They recorded, and they had these conversations transcribed, and then the police have literally looked at the transcription and said that's not what was said, even though it's literally on record, being recorded, then transcribed. And the police department, they're like a kid who, like, just a pathological liar who's like, I didn't do that, I didn't say that, I didn't take that cookie, you know, even though everyone knows that they did. So it's so immature and so juvenile and so just unprofessional. So, and that, yeah, like I said, there's documented proof showing all these lies, and they look at the proof and they're like, nope, we didn't do that. So it's not funny, but it's almost laughable. Like, just how, do they really think people are buying this bullshit? Okay, in one of the phone calls that Virginia had with the Athens Clark Police Department, of course initiated by Virginia, she had asked, and this was getting to the point where they were really starting to get fed up. This was a couple of years probably after Tara's murder, and there had been no progress made, and they were so tired of the police department just basically being stupid. Okay, so and they were tired of not being included in, because they really felt like they could help. They really did. They felt like they could help. They had gathered information on their own that they have offered to the police department, and they just felt like they could have some input beneficial to the investigation. However, the police department, they weren't interested in hearing it. So they were, Lindsay and Virginia were getting to the point where they were just so fed up with just the whole thing. So, Virginia's just obviously starting to get an attitude with the police department, and the niceties have been dropped, and she's just she's over it. So she actually asked the detective that she was talking to on the phone if they had bothered to collect this particular evidence, such as making footprint casts of the muddy ground underneath the kitchen window, which was believed to have been the killer's exit point, which is a thing, okay, that can be done. The detective's response, however, to her was, quote, "You watch too much TV," end quote. That was literally what the detective told her, was, "You watch too much TV." And as far as I know, that is an actual forensic tool, is making casts of footprints and things like that, and tire tracks and whatnot. So that was the detective's response to the mother of a murder victim. So I would have lost my mind if that would have been said to me. Just saying. Virginia, she was very, she kept it together, but I wouldn't have been so nice, I guess, about the response. But later on, and we're still on the subject of the ineptitude of the police department. It later on revealed that the day of the fire, there were 12 firemen that responded to put out this fire. And they had severely contaminated the crime scene. Now, in defense of firemen, sometimes that can't be helped because their first priority is to put out the fire. So, you know, and they didn't know at the time when they were came to put out this fire that there was a dead body inside. I don't think they knew that yet. So, you know, of course, there's going to be some contamination from water, the water, to put out the fire. That pretty much can't be helped. But it wasn't just that. Sources claim that the area, the house, and the surrounding areas were not taped off, were not roped off and taped off, separating the public and curious onlookers from the scene, so that it wasn't secured, and that people, just random people, were allowed to walk, quote, walk the scene. For what reason, I'm not sure. There was also important information that the police withheld from the public for at least a year. Withheld information that if it would have been released immediately, and they knew this immediately, information that if it would have been released would probably have helped solve this case, and we wouldn't be sitting here right now 20 years later talking about this unsolved murder, because I really do believe if they would have not been so stingy with this information and would have put it on the news and to the general public, that people could have been on the lookout and could have called in, and just, I mean, that's what is normally done, you know, and that's how you can't, the police department thinks they can stand alone without the public's help, and that's, to me, that's so conceited and so just obnoxious that they think they can do this without the help from, you know, people, which is just stupid. It's really stupid, because I mean, if people will, they will help you if you give them the chance, okay? And this is why people don't trust the police. This right here, okay, is because they separate themselves so much from from citizens that I mean, it's their own doing. At least with this department, it is. So, one of these things, a fact that was actually kept hidden by the police department, was a witness account that, and this witness came forward the same day, I'm pretty sure. So to say that they had actually seen a white man in blue jeans and a white T-shirt running through the Deer Park neighborhood around the time of Tara's murder. And I think that morning, that day, it was rainy. It was rainy, and it was January, and this dude was running through Tara's neighborhood at the time of the fire and the murder, in a T-shirt, short sleeve T-shirt, in the rain, in the winter. That's not suspicious at all. So the police knew about this, and they said nothing. They said nothing. Usually what you would do is they would put a composite sketch on the news asking if anyone has seen this person, and they don't have to, I mean, they didn't have to say that, oh, this is the person who killed Tara. They could say he just is wanted for questioning, and to see why he was running through a neighborhood in the rain with no coat. You know, I mean, police do that all the time. They ask for people to come forward so they can ask them questions. I mean, to either roll him out or roll him in. I mean, either way, you know, but they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They didn't actually reveal this information until a year later is when they reveal this. And by then, it's too late. It's too freaking late, okay, for anybody to do anything about it. It's too late. I mean, come on. So I don't know why they thought that would be beneficial to withhold that evidence, because there's no benefit to doing that at all. Another detail that was not released by police was the fact that the only thing taken from the crime scene, that was stolen from the crime scene, was Tara's laptop. Tara's laptop was actually missing from the crime scene, and her laptop, and this was back in 2001. So laptops were big and bulky and awkward, and you know, I don't know if y'all remember back then, but laptops were fairly new, not around that long. So the model that she had a black compact Presario, and I remember those. Model number, and I have the model number 1200 XL 1800 HP laptop. And this, what I'm about to say is the thing that I can't wrap my mind around, is along with the laptop, also taken was the setup CD-ROM and the instructional booklet, both of which were filed away in Tara's filing cabinet. And that, to me, is crazy. I don't know. I can't, that's just a crazy thing. And I guess, I don't know if anybody else thinks that's weird. I mean, why would the killer bother to take both those things? I don't understand. And how would they know where they were unless they knew Tara? Or I just don't know. Like, what did they demand that she tell them where they were? I mean, but why would the killer need those things, the setup CD-ROM and the instructional booklet? I don't know. But that's just very odd to me, and it's I can't believe more people aren't asking questions about that fact, because that's just, it's crazy. There's something there that something important, I think. The reason why those were taken, and also how the killer knew that those were filed away in her filing cabinet. It's just weird. Once again, if this info had been released to the public immediately after the murder, I really don't think we would be sitting here talking about this. I don't. That with the computer, and along with a witness description of a man running through Tara's neighborhood, if they would have released this information, I think something would have happened. Somebody would have come forward, because I mean, the computer could have been attempted to have been pawned at a pawn shop, you know, or maybe just sold to somebody, and so people could have come forward and kept an eye out for this laptop. But that information wasn't released to the public until, like I said, it was already too late. So what's the point of keeping that information to yourself? Because it serves no purpose now. I mean, it's too late to do anything with that info. So I don't understand why they didn't release any of that information. And that's going to be it for part 1. Next week, I'm actually going to release a part 2, and I'm going to talk about the continued missteps of the police department, which continue throughout this whole entire investigation. I'm going to talk about the family's desperate search for justice, and we're going to discuss the list. We're going to go through the list of suspects in Tara's murder, and giving you details on all these suspects recently discovered by Cameron J. In the meantime, until next week, please check out Cameron J's podcast, Classic City Crime, on Spotify, which is how I listen to it on Spotify, SoundCloud, or on Apple Podcasts. So yeah, next week, part 2 on the Tara Baker case. And this is Jen Marie. Thank you for watching my channel, Crime Rewind. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.